one of our biggest fears is like, damn, another nigga gonna be raising my child. But then I had to put it into my head. Ain't no nigga gonna raise my child because I'm a present father. we gonna do this together, buddy. Like, what are you talking about?
And you know what? Yo,
You're my best friend now, bro.
Like, marriage has a people give it a bad stigma. Go into
it does, yeah. No,
divorce does have a massive stigma around it. You know, you got people that are close to you that's gonna judge you about it, but not realizing I had to tell somebody, what you want me to just keep suffering in silence? Like, and then when I go crazy, I'm like, I wonder what made him do that.
Right.
Exactly. And listen, what you said. You said a key role. Sorry, what's this? Not to cut your wisdom. You just said, should you suffer in silence? And one thing about women, respect to the women, because they always have groups around them. They always have somebody they could console and confide in. Men, we think that it's not masculine to be able to talk about certain things with somebody like your boys or somebody that's close to you. Now, I would tell men not to confide in a romance. So with your woman, your wife, I don't care what a woman says, you don't confide that type of information to a woman. You find your boy or another female you respect on that level, but you don't confide in your woman confides in you. But a lot of men don't have that support, and they don't go to look for that support. So then they get themselves in situations like being heartbroken for way longer than it should take. But carry on, sister. Carry on.
Oh, she lost her train of thought. It's gone.
Sorry. Thank you. All right. Now that I know, I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna need you to get you a pen and paper to write down your notes. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I recommend that too.
Yo, I'm not even being funny. Look.
Yeah.
If you have a thought, you don't want to cut somebody off, I write them down.
You're right.
And sometimes when you write it down, you realize that was a dumb thought. Let me not say that after all.
He was like, now she can see me scratching it out.
But to go back to what Bernard said, with you guys not necessarily having someone to confide in or the support, in respect to you guys personally, how did you get through your divorce?
Usually when a dude is in a relationship for a long time, and if that dude does happen to fall in love, and that's another topic I want to get into at another time, men, we don't have the luxury to fall in love. You could love your girl, you could respect her, you could take care of her, you could do all those things, but when it comes to the emotional part, I advise against it. And going into what I'm about to explain, it's going to bring it home. Now, most times when dudes are in a relationship, a lot of times they don't even know they're in love. So it's not until the relationship's actually over when you like, oh shit. Because most dudes will be like, all right, chick broke up with me. Like first 2-3 days, they're good. I was like, yo, I didn't even think that I was going to be this good this quick. But eventually that dude, especially if it was a long-term relationship, they spent a lot of time together, a marriage, eventually that dude's going to be like, hold on, this chick ain't really checking for me. Let me go, I always had it like that. So let me go ahead and reach out and see what's good with her. Dude reaches out, and now the chick's on some real, like, I ain't fucking with you shit. Now, perhaps in the past, they would have broke up and went through that whole cycle, and the girl always came back. When a woman doesn't come back this time, it sends different energy in that dude, and the dude's all of a sudden like, whoa, she's serious now. And then it really starts to settle in. See, with a man, that quote unquote heartbreak doesn't set in initially. It takes like maybe a week or two. But once it sets in, it's unfortunate because it usually lasts a lot longer. Because 9 times out of 10, women are the ones filing for divorces for all types of reasons that we could get into later. But by the time that woman does file for divorce, she's already separated from that dude like fucking months ago. And this is something else. Usually, not all the time, but usually the woman does not separate completely from that dude until she's already attached to another guy. So let me go with how it worked out for me. Me and my ex, we're cool in the game. We're tied like shoelaces to this day. But I didn't realize after the divorce that, damn, I really was in love with this woman. So because, and I'm older, because I'm older and I've seen a lot of how some of my other guys will play it after they're in a relationship and a situation happens and they're no longer in that relationship, a lot of them don't know how to manage their emotions. So what I said to myself, at the point where I knew I wasn't depressed, at the point where I knew it was like, it was 2-3 days in, and I'm like, yo, by next week, this shit's gonna hit me. I wrote down a plan that I said to myself, I don't care what my emotional state is, but in the next 30 days, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna make sure that whatever it is, whether I'm in a depression or not, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to work and do what I was doing. Meaning, I cautiously took 30 days to just feel all of this. And that's the thing a lot of men don't want to do. So that's the key root of it. You gotta feel this shit. You gotta embrace it. You can't fight from it. Let it fucking consume you. But you have to be mentally strong enough to know that once those 30 days are over, I don't give a fuck how you feel. You act as if you acted before that divorce. So with that being said, that kind of helped me get out of my situation, the feelings a lot sooner than it would have taken. I've seen some of my dudes, get into situations, woman breaks up with them, they don't know how to take it. They're showing up at the crib, at the chick's house. Man, you don't know how many, and I'm talking about men over 40 whose street, they have game, they're not game goofy, but that emotion will make you game goofy if you were not in your discipline.
Game goofy.
Did you just write that down?
That's your takeaway.
That's your takeaway. That's it. So we're talking about men not necessarily having the same support that women, like support system that women have during a divorce. So Bernard just gave his piece. I'm gonna give Kev the opportunity to say his support path or whatever it's called.
I mean, when you're talking about support path, you gotta think about it. Our support system is our boys and our homies. And we was never trained to talk about our feelings. So, I mean, it's like only time when you were young, dumb, and stupid, you talking about the hoes and the bitches and all that shit, but that's where it stops. When you get into real relationships, it's like, oh, how's everything going? Everything's cool. All right, cool. But you look miserable as fuck, my guy. So you're gonna tell me the truth or no? But your ego's not gonna allow you to tell the truth. That's why I talk about suffering in silence. It's not literally suffering, but it's like you going through some shit and don't want to speak up to your homeboys about it, or find that close homegirl that think like a dude sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you. But I'm just saying, it's like we was never taught to talk about our feelings. So then when you do talk about your feelings, you don't know how it's gonna be receptive, and then you're talking about, oh, I don't think she loves me anymore, bro. Like, fuck you. I'm telling you right now, younger minded me, I was like, fuck you talking about, bro? Like, go get something else. Like, if she don't love you no more, like, move the fuck on. But not realizing you in a committed relationship. That's another thing. Commitment is like something that you talk about later on in life. When it's time to settle down and have kids and all that shit. But when you're in your your late 20s, early 30s, and you're talking about commitment, it's like, what? You're weird. Back off. I'm still having fun. And that's, so it's like all you're talking about, I just said late 20s, early 30s, where is the support? And then you're talking about y'all mature a whole lot faster than we do. So y'all already think about settling down, marriage and all that other stuff. And we've never even had that support system to even teach us and speak about it. So that you're talking about, that's how people end up in marriages 20 years deep, 3 kids in, and like, little Johnny just went to college. I'm out of here. What? You knew about 12 years ago you was done, my guy. But because society says you got to stay in your relationship, fuck society. Society's not in my house, okay? Like, I don't care.
Society's not in your bed.
You either like it or you don't like it.
Right.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Iris?
I wrote down my notes this time. So one thing I was going to say is, I get it. Like women are more emotionally in tune than men are, but the support thing, I do think that there's a little bit of a, like, it may sound easy to say, well, women are more emotionally connected, so we can support each other. But as a woman, if you think about it, society prepares, quote unquote, women to be wives. Like, your goal in life is, oh, you're not married, you don't have kids. Like, that's how society looks at women. I don't hear men, and I'm around guys all the time. I don't hear men go up to men and be like, bro, you getting married? Like, when women have conversations like, oh, so are you in a relationship? Are you guys gonna get married? Are you guys gonna have kids? That's literally how it goes. So for a woman to get divorced, I feel like the support may be there, but the fear and the disappointment, like those feelings are there for women. So we kind of might feel like, damn, I don't even want to tell nobody, because I'm supposed to be, if you're getting a divorce as a female, you might feel like I failed at something, because nobody's gonna look at the man and say, oh, you did something wrong, because society's looking at men as financial, as a financial
provider.
Yeah, that's the word. Yes.
I got you.
Thank you, because I was looking for the lifeline and I was like, hello. But like, society looks at men as providers, but women are supposed to be like the household. We keep things together. So if I, as a female, go to my married friends or something and be like, yo, I'm about to get a divorce. I don't even know if I said anything about divorce unless you was in my circle. People didn't know I was divorced until I posted it on Facebook a few days ago.
Mika, I'm gonna let you hop in. So we're talking about, just the support and process you have with
the support came a bit different. So I was in a relationship up until the divorce, counting 26 years. So children, the whole nine. So that was a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't mention me without mentioning him, and vice versa. So the support, it was difficult because I think that many people felt like they had to take sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, it was very hurtful to call this person my brother, to know that, my family, you've been in my household, you've ate dinners with us, and you're not supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
And with the girlfriends, it's, Iris mentioned, going to your married friends and mentioning this. Well, the circle doesn't always involve married friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're bringing that information to the group, it's like, well, no one knows what to say. Because at this point, 26 years, you are the couple.
Mm-hmm.
You are the example of what marriage is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if that breaks up, no one has any advice for it. I heard Mr. B. Rich over here mention 30 days of getting over it. Oh my God. I wish I had that fortitude. I wish that I could have gotten it over it in 30 days. Although I'm the one that said, I want a divorce, it was difficult. And then when you have children involved, it was difficult. So, and I know the next segment is going to be in getting over and going to the other side. I never saw that coming. I never expected it. And I was like, I'm going to be this old maid and I'm just going to be here, dad, and no one's going to love me. And, it was dark.
Yeah.
It was dark. So
How long have you been divorced for?
Well, I've been separated a good 3.5, almost 4 years.
Okay.
The divorce was final March of last year.
Okay.
Right. So, we had already been living separate lives for a while, still trying to work it out, which is the worst thing ever. When you say you're done and the person has moved out, I
agree.
Move on, because it makes things more difficult, because when you start looking at things in hindsight, but we were, it wasn't real. It wasn't. And all that can be, just devastating, to your ego, to just you know, what I've always said was, I wish that we would have done this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That big argument that we had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I wish we would have called it quits at that point. But, you know, trying to work it out because of what society is expecting you to do, and it's what society expects out of you. What a 26, my mother-in-law used to say, whenever, you know, one of the family members would have an issue with their significant other, she would say, Mikhail, you go over there and you show them how to keep a man. What kind of pressure is that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's, you know, and then when it ends, it's like, oh, well, I guess she couldn't keep a man either, you know, and then all those feelings that come along with that, you know. So anyway, I've taken a whole lot of time.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, the whole point of this is a candid conversation. You got to speak when the words come out. But I wanted to touch on something you said, Inka, was, you know, at one point you're just like, nobody's going to want me. And, you know, there is a stigma, and it you know, it is pretty sexist, because when women are divorced and, you know, 9 out of 10 chances they have sole custody of the child, it is harder for them to bounce back than it is for a divorced man to bounce back. And I kind of want to give everybody an opportunity to either state their argument for it or against it.
I mean, I'm not gonna go against that. Listen, and I'm not saying it is a double standard. Like, it's a fact. A guy can move on a whole lot faster. We don't got to. Listen, 3 days out of the week, you're on full-time daddy duty. That means 4 other days I'm chilling. I could do me.
Yeah.
Moms
don't. What?
4 days you outside.
In the gutter.
Listen, I could be out. But you know the thing with dads also, you could be outside with your kid and still be getting played. Yeah. Moms don't have that opportunity. It's unfortunate.
It's not that they don't have the opportunity, but a lot of the times you got to look at it in two ways. I noticed that a lot of women, and rightfully so, they're very protective of how they look in front of their children. So some things as men, you know, we have the, you know, like I say, both sexes have different options of different luxuries. And we have the luxury of kind of just not seeing, because so part of that 30 days, and after I got out of this, you know, whatever I was in, I did a lot of shadow work and a lot of, you know, just a lot of meditation, a lot of mindful stuff, because at one point I was like, I remember a situation happened with my ex where we was having a conversation. I was telling her to do something, and I guess I was kind of just a little bit too aggressive with it. So she was like, she wasn't feeling that, and she wrote me this long letter. So I go to my boy and we chopping it up, and I'm talking to him about it. It was like, yo, B, what are you talking about? Like, she's the most submissive person ever. Like, you already alpha. I would alpha her. And in my mind, I'm like, yo, So as I'm going into my journey, I'm like, maybe I got to tone down a little bit of whatever it is in me. So I went on to that other side just to try to balance everything out. And brother, when I did that, not only did it showed me a lot of stuff that I didn't see before, but it kind of grounded me as far as what a man is supposed to be. So I say that to say this. A lot of the times we don't have the luxury to look through the lens of a woman like, damn, like you said, we could just be out and about whoop-de-woo, but see, there's the other double standard. Yeah, that woman, even with her kid, she has a better chance of getting more opportunities to date than a dude is, because you could be fly as fuck. But most women are not going to go out of the way to check you like that unless you live in like Atlanta or DC. Chicks be choosing. But if you're just in a normal state where women ain't choosing like that, you could be the flyest dude. You're going to have to be out there campaigning yourself just to get somebody to look at you. But a woman, she could just be looking like whatever with the kids, 5 of them. And you got some dude who's going to pull up and be like, yo, I'm going to help you with that. So it's a double-edged sword on both sides, but it depends on what lens you're looking at it from.
But I think the protective issue about, like, okay, my son is 16 years old, soon to be 17. I'm recently divorced since February, and he moved out in May. So for me, for 9 years, my son has only seen me in the house with this man. So for me, my son's grown. I care about what my son thinks. I care about how he views women. I care about what I communicate with my son. We meditate together. Whatever I learn, I teach him. So for me, it's like dating somebody is kind of weird because it's like, okay, my son now has to adjust to change of environment of a man that was in the house for 9 years being out of the house. And then me introducing somebody new with his grown self. My son's not like 5, he's 16. I got to sit down and explain to him like, mommy likes him, okay? He's nice. Like, I can't
be nice to him.
Like, yo, who's he? Who is he? I'm like, what? Like, now I'm scared of my grown ass son, you know what I'm saying? But I do care about how my son views the divorce. I care about how he views me going into something new. So the fear of bringing somebody else into the relationship and it not lasting again is scary. Because he lives with me versus a man who you might have your child every other weekend or in the evenings and every other weekend, but that child doesn't have that much attachment to somebody new because they don't live with you. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's a little harder for women. Yeah, we can get all the looks in the world. That doesn't mean all those candidates are going to be good enough to welcome in my house, right, or welcome around my son. Because now at my son's age, I'm looking for a proper role model, somebody who's going to come in and be a proper father figure and role model to my son. So not just any and everybody's going to walk up in this house.
I agree with that. Like, so like my son, he's 5 now. He just turned 5. And, you know, one thing we said once we separated is we ain't going to be having revolving doors around him. It ain't until something serious. That's when, you know, the other spouse is supposed to meet the other one, have a conversation, and then, you know, then they'll meet Kaden or whatever. You know, the unfortunate part for me is, you know, I got bopped a little bit, and then my son ratted me out. But it was literally on some accident stuff, like legit accident. Like came, dropped something off. It was one of the nights that I normally don't have my son, and he's seen the person, my current girlfriend, on FaceTime before, so he already had some familiarity with him or whatever. So my man went home and just started saying, "I want to call Tiffany." And then ex calls me like, so who's Tiffany? And I'm like, oh, well, while we're on
I like subject, your son.
But you know, he's 5. So like, and at the same time, you can't have, like, you could talk and have a conversation with Jermaine, right? But I can't have, nobody could really have that conversation with a 5-year-old. He just knows that mommy and daddy's in 2 different houses now. And he knows how to play this system now. Like, he can get away with this, he can get away with that, but he don't know no different. And like, now he knows Tiffany lives with me. So like, when he's here, he's with Tiffany. So that relationship and bond is growing and all that. But like, I couldn't deal with no 16-year-old, because I'm like, I gotta tell you my moves, bro. Like, what are you talking about? You would do. You understand. You get it.
Bernard, you have older children too. How do you go about those conversations?
Well, I have a 26-year-old daughter, 23-year-old son, and a 6-year-old son.
Iris, close your mouth.
26, 23, and a 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a case to start over, but go ahead.
You say what?
No, I said I do have a chance to start over because my child's 16. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to do the math if I have another baby, but go ahead.
All right, go ahead, B.
But as far as my children, and I'm a very candid person anyway, so when my daughter was like, as soon as my children are able to actually comprehend words, we start talking about everything. And I always say to them, you might not understand what I'm talking about, but don't worry, we're going to have a conversation again in plenty of times. So I've never had, and if we want to be, see, we can't be all the way 100 with how my lifestyle is. So we just going to leave that alone. But my daughter knows, my sons know. It's just about having conversation, being comfortable. It's like, I can't understand how grown ass people are not comfortable speaking to their children. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. Mika, how do you How'd you have, and don't say you didn't, because not after what B just said, you can't say you didn't have that conversation.
No, actually, okay, so my history was that I was just a typical Haitian wife.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have arguments with your kid in front of your kids. You do not talk issues with your kids. What the mom says and dad says, that's it. So after the divorce, I've had to become a totally different person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not pinning me against your dad, and your dad is going to be more flexible and mom's always going to be the bad guy. No. So the conversation have been totally different, and they've been very open. My kids are 21 and 16. And at some point the 21-year-old decided when he was 19 that he was going to live with dad.
She said deuces.
I mean, if that's what
that was the boy or the girl?
The boy. I have two boys.
Two boys, okay.
Two boys. And I don't mean that, in a cold way. It's more of, okay, you finna learn. I live in Atlanta, so you finna learn.
Uh-oh.
And slowly he has learned, dad hasn't really been paying attention to his school. He flunked out of school. There's some things that happen. And, it's always mom, mom, mom. I'm like, mom cannot be the last resort. So, and he's learning that mom now is the first contact, because mom fixes things and dad is coming at the tail end of things, trying to, beg people to fix things. And it doesn't work like that in the real world.
Right.
I guess, we're talking about what, bounce back and.
Yeah. So actually I was going to shift into.
Okay.
Not necessarily restarting, but I guess diving back into the dating pool, or even stepping back. Iris, brace yourself. I just saw your face. Finding the courage to bounce back, because we spoke about divorce and the process of processing a divorce, and now you're in this stage where you're divorced. You may be feeling a little insecure about stepping back in to the game. You may be confident about it.
Some of us had the same reaction, like, what? No, ma'am.
How did you eventually get to the point where you're like, you know what, I want to try this again? Or was it more like a F love, I'm never doing this again, and then boom, something just kind of just appeared in your way?
That's dumb.
Initially, I took that route because I believe one of the last words my ex-husband said, who the hell is going to want you? I'm sorry, what? Who's going to want me? No, but it was, he left with those words. And I was like, that is so true. I asked for the divorce. I didn't know really why I was asking for the divorce. Everything just felt really not right. And then to find out that he had been already in a 5-year relationship inside of our relationship.
Oh, Lord.
So that being said, I believed it. I believed every single word. And it took some time for me to just get myself together. The divorce was, the filing started in December of 2020. And no, I asked for the divorce in October. In November, I was outside. People asked me to go on dates. I was like, I'm going on dates. I was like, oh, this is great. My cousin who, she's the player from the Himalayas. She's like, Mikki, relax.
You're out there.
I was going and it was fun,
Yeah.
And it's funny during that time frame, Toni Braxton said something, and I'm going to get some flack for saying it. She said, I should have been a hoe in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
And I understood every single thing that she meant in that particular time frame. Not to say that I was outside like that, but I totally understood it because, like I said, I called my whole marriage a bid. So I did a 25-year bid. And when I got out of that, it was like, wait a minute, people are nicer. Men really, do this and men do that. I didn't experience this. And for 25 years, what I had is what I thought it was supposed to be. And everybody else who knows him thought that he was the most wonderful person in the world. I would bring his name up and they were like, oh my God, he is what? No, he was a fake nice guy.
Mm.
A fake nice guy. Right? I know this is not a bashing session, but that's what it is. And so coming out of, you know, something like that, where you're seen as the villain in the marriage, became very difficult. Right. And
you're always the villain and a bad guy. Whoever asks for the divorce is the villain.
Okay.
I had to play that part.
Then was it mwahaha all the way through? Because that is
let me get my Dracula on.
Right, exactly.
Iris, are you raising your hand?
I don't know. I'm having hot flashes and menopause.
I'm hitting some points. Right. So that having been said, like I said, I was having a good time, and you know, but at some point it just dawned on me, like, is this gonna be my life? Like just constantly going out and having nothing constant, right? So then the fun ended and I started getting into this mode. But never in that process did I say F love. You know, our platform now, my boo and I, is called Our Love Out Loud. And it's basically that, you know, we love. And, you know, we'll talk about, I guess, circle around how that came about. But no, never in that point did I say F love. I was open to the possibility. And in, you know, my girlfriends are like, well, how did this happen? I've been out here trying to, I was open. Are you open? You know, are you still dragging, you know, not to say that I don't have these issues from, you know, this divorce. It can't go, you know, away overnight or, you know, after a year or so. But that being said, it's like, are you open to the process?
I'm like, who wants to go after that?
I wanted to
hold on, Iris. Let's get a guy in, and we'll back and forth. Iris, write it down.
I'm cool. She could forget her wisdom. I'm not going to forget mine.
Go ahead, Iris.
I've been taking notes. I'm learning from my mistakes. So you could go ahead.
Okay. The sister brings up an interesting thing about. She said the 20 bracts and the whole thing, and it's a known fact that every woman has to go through a whole stage and every man has to go through a player stage. Unfortunately, when we get into these young relationships early, when our elders are trying to encourage us not to, we think we know better than them. They're like, you know, you don't want to do this early in your life. You don't want to get into committed relationships, and you do it anyway. And at that time, when you're a young woman and a young man, you got to get that. You got to be a hoe on both ends, because you got to know what life is like out there. Because what happens is, and this happens with men and women, if you're in a relationship for, you know, in your formative years as a young adult, and then you get to 30 and 40 and you get out of that relationship, you're going to revert to acting like you was when you was a youth, because you wasn't able to explore that option. And that's what usually happens with older women who's in these relationships, and they get out of these relationships, have their whole phase. But here's part of the problem as well. In that interview that's going to air probably next week, I talked about the womb with the wounded womb and the womb imprint, and also the sexually transmitted demons. And a lot of these women are, you know, laid up with all these dudes and don't know why they're having all these emotional anxiety, panic attacks, and crazy, literally, because they're letting all of these different energies into them in a stage where they're way older, and their energy is a lot more powerful because they're really honed in on the energy around that age. So that energy is all up in them, and they don't know why the fuck they acting wild. So that's very important that, you know, be cautious of that, and tell these young women that, and men, tell these women this as well. As you get older, these women think that, oh, it's all about, I'm about to get my party on. Well, watch how fast your energy is wasted when you get to a certain age and you let your party on.
Iris.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify a few things for me. So one, my son is not my ex's son. So that was one thing I wanted to put out there. Two, I didn't ask for the divorce, okay? I was divorced. And I'm still the villain, but we ain't gonna get into that because I don't need no phone calls or text messages, okay? But I think the best thing I guess it's hard to say if you don't know you're going to go through a divorce, you don't really know what to expect. But because the last year of my relationship was so rocky, I actually indirectly started healing by accident because I was trying to figure out what the issue was between me and this person. While I was trying to do that and do my research and go to therapy and all this stuff, indirectly, I'm like learning about myself. I'm learning about the relationship. I'm learning about different relationships. I do here. So I have people sitting in my chair talking about their situations, and I'm learning from them, and I'm giving them advice, and we're feeding off of each other, bouncing things off of each other. And so that last year, even though it was very toxic, it actually prepared me for the divorce. So divorce actually happened. Obviously, the first instinct was like, oh, damn, what? But after, I feel like if I didn't start healing towards the end of that last year, I don't know where I'd be right now because everything's still fresh. But I didn't have that mentality of fuck love. Like, why? Love is love. Like, everybody is for somebody, I believe. So I kind of was nervous, like I said, about the whole, my son's 16, and I'm going to have to talk to him and be like, yo, and he's very protective because I was a single mom for a minute before I got into this relationship. So he's protective of his mom, which makes sense. So, it's like, damn, I can't be just sleeping out at people's houses, and I can't have nobody come into my house, and I can't be telling my son, go to your grandparents' house and spend the weekend, okay? Because he's going to be like, why?
Why? Yeah.
I'm in my room playing video games and I'm good here. Like, so then it's like, damn, so you don't want to go nowhere? Like, you don't want to do nothing? So for me, that was the only thing I was like nervous about. It wasn't about like if I'm going to meet somebody, but Boston is small. And I do know a handful of people in Boston. So the fear I had was, who the hell am I going to meet that I don't know? And not even just who am I going to meet that I don't know, but who am I going to meet that I don't know and none of my exes know? Because I'm not talking to nobody who knows my exes. So now my options were like, mad small. Like, I'm like, damn, I'm not talking to nobody outside of Boston. Like, it was just, those were the things that were going on in my head. But
yeah, you were doing good.
What I like about what you're saying, you're very respectful in how, even though you're not in that relationship, you're very respectful in the manner on how you're choosing to live your life, even though you don't have to be like that. That's very honorable. There's not a lot of, and that's a funny thing for me to say, because, and no disrespect to women, but that's not an honorable, that most women are not honorable after a relationship, whether you break up with them or they break up with you, and especially if they break up with you. So that's very honorable.
Thank you.
It's early.
I mean, you know what I will say? My village is strong. Like, I have dope people around me, whether it's business-wise, socially. I have people that I had here to be like, girl, you're good. Like you're this, you're good this, you're a good that. You've been doing this, you've been doing that, you tried this. So all those things and affirmations. Oh my God, I have affirmations on my mirror. I have affirmations on my bathroom mirror, my room mirror. I just needed to remind myself of who I was because, with divorce, it can break you depending on how you take it. But I honestly wanted to go into this divorce as peaceful as possible. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be able to say, not F that man, but at the same time, I wanted to be like, yo, thank you. Because if it wasn't for this relationship, there's things I wouldn't have learned about myself. And there's things I wouldn't have learned about what I want for myself and what I'm not going to tolerate. So for me, I don't want to ever be like, oh, I wish I never got married, or I can't believe I got divorced. I'm grateful I got divorced because, in all honesty, I think some people stay in relationships or marriages because they have kids together. I think a lot of people who are together in a marriage that have kids would have divorced a long time ago. But those kids kind of make you stay a little bit longer and have a little bit more hope and try a little bit more. But we didn't have no kids together. So
Iris was like, You don't want to be?
I wasn't like this. He said this, and I was like, it's okay, cool. I guess that's where we're at.
If you don't mind, without, because I want to try to get to a point real here. So without going too long, could everybody go around the room and tell me why you got married in the first place?
So I'll go. I went through my thought and bottom phase. So, and I always knew I wanted the family, that whole dynamic, you know, being the provider, have my kids in a household. I waited till my Jesus year before I had my child. So it wasn't like it couldn't have happened, but I was very selective. You know what I mean? So it was like, I knew I wanted to raise my child in a household. I wanted that family dynamic. I wanted my child to see, whether boy or girl, what love looks like, right? You know what I mean? So start breaking some of these stereotypes, these stigmas and all that. But, you know, it didn't play out that way. But for a dude, you know, and you could speak on this also, one of our biggest fears is like, damn, another nigga gonna be raising my child? But then I had to put it into my head, ain't no nigga gonna raise my child because I'm a present father. We gonna do this together, buddy. Like, what are you talking about?
And you know what? No, I'm
my best friend now, bro.
I'm gonna tell you some real game right here, brother. And this is some real game. And y'all sisters who's listening on this game, it's some fucked up cold game, but the streets is what it is. I personally, you know, and not for what people might think, but I wouldn't get in a serious relationship with with a woman who has children. However, if that man is in that woman's life, I'm definitely not messing with. Like, if the father's in the child's life, I'm definitely not messing with him. Oh. Here's the reason why, and here's where the game goes. Here's where the game goes cold. For a man who does want to interact or engage or have a relationship with the woman who has children, the father should not be involved. Here's the reason why. A woman cannot have two men who's playing an actively, quote unquote, alpha or dominant role in her life, and that child is the most important thing to her. So regardless of what people are saying, how people might feel, that father's playing that, especially if he's in the picture. If the father's in the picture, you know for sure that, okay, this dude ain't playing no fucking games, because it's not like, let's say hypothetically, that woman did not want him in the picture, but he's in the picture. That even forces more truth that, damn, this dude ain't playing that shit, meaning that he has some type of strong influence over this woman's life. A woman cannot have two alpha males in her life because it's going to be a problem. So as a man who's trying to get into that situation, I would advise against that. But that's just some game. That's just a different level type of game.
So I get where he's coming from, because like the man that you're with that's sleeping behind you at night, that's the head of your household.
Mm-hmm.
Your child's father, he only could dictate what's going on with that child, education-wise. Hey, these are our morals and our foundation that we set for this child. Another person can't come in and just start code switching. Now, can we all sit down like three adults and have a conversation? Like, hey, this is how my parenting skills, this is my parenting skills. Can we find a happy medium? And I think it's because of my military background, I've seen so much blended families, and we used to call them extra manpower. So there's the father, and then there's a stepfather. Some of the best relationships are those two guys, because that child don't know what to do anymore. Because it's like, damn, I gotta get it from my mama, my daddy, and my stepdad. Y'all all can't be on the same accord.
What's the main thing that you said that's very important about that conversation? That you said it's a very important point that you made about that structure. That three people need to sit down.
Oh, absolutely.
Most of us ain't willing to sit down, and that's the problem, because 9 times out of 10, and that's why, if, like I said, if that father's a quality father, if that's a quality father, and he's willing to sit down and have that conversation, that's great. But there's a lot of these women who will break up. And here's the funny thing about it: there'll be women that will break up, divorce, or whatever the dude is, get the new dude, and still be rocking with the ex, and he's navigating the ship. So
we got bigger issues at that point. Yeah,
bigger issues. For sure.
I just look at it like this. I'm speaking for me.
You're next, Iris.
If my ex was to tell me she's getting into a relationship, I just want to know where dude stands on some moral foundations, and we could figure this out, baby. Like I said, we best friends.
But the question is, but see, now here goes my point. What if whatever you is feeling, she's not feeling because of his influence?
So now we got an even bigger fundamental issue because my son's 5. We've been raising them together for 5-6 years now.
But
it's been this. So I'm in a new relationship, right? My lady, she has her foundations and grounding and all that other stuff on how she feels you should raise a child. Does that always align with how we're raised, how me and my ex is raising them? It don't. But at the same time, we all know in this throuple that we got going on right now, it's whatever's best for the child. Now, can I go back and be like, hey, maybe we should probably think, because you can get a different perspective on things. And now, hey, I know we've been doing this for 5 years. Maybe we should look at this. But then it's a conversation. It all goes back to a conversation, right? Because I'm not going to dictate, be like, yo, Tiffany said we should do this, and I think it's a great idea, so that's what we're doing. No, we're the parents. These are the extra bonus parents. We're going to come together as a collective and figure this out, right? Because other outside factors, they're going to give their opinions. And if it's a good opinion, if you got your head on straight and you're thinking about the benefits of the child, you're not going to disqualify an opinion because it came from somebody else. Right. You know what I mean? I got friends. I don't agree with some of the shit that they say or do when it comes to parenting, but I take a nugget or two now. I'm like, I just had a phone conversation about schools. And somebody just put me onto a whole different school, and I'm like, oh, okay. How am I going to approach this? Because, you know, we already talked about these 4 schools. I need to slide this one in here without, you know. So I think it all stems back to like having grown adult conversations. You know what I mean? But you got to be in that space where everybody's matured and grown out of this relationship also. Because it's like, if somebody's still harboring some shit, we ain't going to get nothing done.
Like, you got to be healed. Let me give the ladies a chance to talk about this.
Well, then just tell me shut the fuck up next time.
So why'd y'all get married? Because I want to bring back that point.
I am going to, take the 2 fingers and bow out of church for the co-parenting conversation, because we're not there yet. And that's fair, you know?
Yeah.
And that goes kind of back into what I'm talking about. See, I'm glad that what you're saying, brother, because most men, for the most part, we want to get on the same page, especially if you're a man who really loves your child, especially if it's a son. No disrespect to the daughters, but you know how fathers feel about their sons. He's definitely a reflection of you. So you want to know what man is raising your son. However, if you have a woman that's not cooperative, then damn, that's a messed up situation to be in.
But you also have to look at situations.
Hers is new and fresh though. So,
but you also have to look at the situations individually, because if you have a man that has had a relationship inside of his marriage for 5 years, who is now going to get married to this woman,
right?
Whom he's
getting married to the new one.
Listen.
The way Kev just pulled up on the screen.
Wait,
I said what?
I said, you're marrying your sneaky link? But no, that being said, and you have a woman who feels as if on his end that has won the prize, who has taken the husband out of the house to make her his husband. She has a lot to say in how he deals with me, how he deals with the child, and it's very different than what I have known it to be.
Right.
So if we know that in this particular situation we would do A and B, now I'm expecting A and B, but he's doing C and D. The only thing that has changed is this lady. But that being said, and it's difficult.
Right.
It's very difficult. And so we cannot have that co-parenting conversation where we're always on the same page, because it's always, well, you can do what you want to do in your house and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do in my house. That doesn't work.
That's like reality TV type of stuff.
And I'm like, that doesn't work. I said,
But unfortunately, that's most of the population. That's what I'm talking about. See, but you know the reason why you have that situation the way you are, brother, because I could just tell by your energy, you're going to demand a certain type of woman, and that woman's going to fall into a certain type of energy. So I really do believe And again, everybody has a chance in life to get greater every day. But a lot of the times that we're with some people, we know what it is. It's like this didn't surprise. If you're in a relationship with someone over 2-3 years, shit don't surprise you. You put up with it. You might overlook it. You might be like, I could, it might get better. But none of this shit is. For instance, when you got a divorce, and I'm assuming that the child is with your ex-wife, correct?
Yes.
You knew exactly what type of. She wasn't going to switch code. She wasn't going to change up. All of a sudden, she's doing this with the child, and you're like, what? The reason why that happens to both men and women is because, well, excuse me, we know what type of people we fuck with. Let's just be honest. We're not surprised.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Listen, like I said, I waited till my Jesus year to have a child, and I wasn't trying to do baby mamas. And I have a mother to my child. We co-parent well. Our marriage did not work for numerous reasons on both sides, and that's why I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, I want to, and Iris, I'm gonna let you answer the why did I get married question. But I want to touch. I want to touch on just. And I'll start the question with Iris so that she can speak.
Well, let me just say, I got married because I was in love. I was 19 and I was in love.
All right, cool.
And that's the dream, because you know what? A lot of times, and for women, I'll speak for women.
We were in love.
You put it in your brain. The goal is to be in love and married by like early 20s, have all your kids, and then you can like be the fun, active mom as your kids grow up. That's the goal, or at least that is how we are conditioned as women. And I'll even take it a step further, as West Indian women, Iris is Jamaican, but as Haitian women, it's like, oh, you have somebody.
Young mothers at Haitian. My mother didn't want me to have a child until I was like 30. What are you talking about?
No, not young mothers, but I'm talking about getting married, getting married in that lifestyle. The sooner you can get to it,
sure,
the better for them. Mm-hmm. Like even with me, when did I get married? Last year.
You got married.
Oh shit.
Just last year. I was thinking of my age.
I'm texting.
I made at 34, but all my 20s, all I kept hearing was, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? My siblings got married before me, and I just kept hearing, so when are you going to jump on board? You just turned 30. So what's going on? Or you're now in your 30s. What's going on? So it's like, Mika had you were able to get the gift in the package and have that love story. Granted, I know.
Sorry, the face. Sorry, no poker face.
Right now, we don't look at it as the dream love story, but you have that dream that everybody wanted. I lost my point because I wanted to start with Iris.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm going to say that, I wouldn't advise anybody to get married when I got married.
Oh,
in
yeah.
20s, you don't know yourself.
That's when you should be having. That's when that's your.
I tell my sons, I'm like, listen, if you bring somebody home and you tell me that you're going to get married at 20, earlier than 28,
I'm going to tell you no.
I'm going to tell you no, and I'm going to be adamantly against it.
Right.
And I've told them why. I said, you don't know yourself. I said, build yourself, find yourself, bring a whole person to this relationship.
Most men's mindset don't start changing until 24, 25. And that's if they're mature enough and they're not worried about what the homies think and all that other stuff. Yeah. That's when we start maturing and we really thinking about life. Like, so at 19, 20, I'm gonna tell you right now, you marry me at 19, 20, shit, you're gonna have a girlfriend.
Oh my God.
Iris, I need you to jump in and speak now because I know you're not writing anymore. I haven't seen you write one point
Iris,
down.
Why did you get married?
Yeah, she still don't know. We gave you all that time to figure it out.
Listen, I was trying to see how respectful to the conversation I was trying to be, or
just go in.
If I was trying to be an open book, okay?
Girl, I said ho in this thing, so you go ahead.
She said I did say the whole thing, girl.
I did.
Oh no. So my marriage wasn't like a traditional situation. I met this man. He had a little accent. I was like, "Ooh, you chocolate?" Like, Then we were talking for a while. He was cute. We're talking for like a year. He's like, oh, somebody's going to text and call me. Don't call my phone. I'm just letting everybody know. Don't call me. Don't text me. This is the damn truth. Okay. So he needed his papers and he was going to go through somebody else to do it. Cause at this point we was talking for a while, but I was like, I'm kind of stubborn. So I was like, you think I'm gonna be your side chick, bro? Like, you think you about to marry somebody and I'm gonna be your girlfriend? That don't make sense. And I thought real long and hard, like, yo, but if you marry him, you married, like, what? But I was like, but I'm not gonna be his side chick though. So I was battling myself. And I talked to one of my aunts and she was like, listen, if you feel like it's gonna go somewhere, even if it doesn't, just it's either going to happen or it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. There's no in between. So I was like, at the time it sounded real cute because he had an accent. So I was like, okay, like that's not bad, good or bad. I think this could be good or whatever. I mean, it lasted 9 years, but I think that going into a marriage that way can work, but we didn't have a proper foundation. And when I say foundation, I don't mean like building the relationship alone. I mean like a proper foundation to explain what the hell we're getting ourselves into. Not just, oh, not only are you guys just meeting, y'all have been talking for a year, you don't really know much about each other, and now you're going to get married, but also, I don't know what your childhood was like. You don't know what my childhood was like. I don't know what your role models were in your household. Like, did you grow up with both parents? How were their relationships when you grew up with them? Like, how was my relationship watching my parents grow up? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like all those things that can help us learn and be have a decent foundation for a relationship was not there because it was just the honeymoon stage. Everything was cute. And then that was literally why I got married. And I feel like we went through all the hardships in the beginning and it just kind of like kept going.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because we're going into something so heavy and so deep, quick, with no guidance, no explanation, no make sure you guys do this. I mean, some people gave their little insight and stuff, but it wasn't like he's what, 6 years younger than me, 5 years younger than me. So that was another thing.
No, I was about to say, you out here cougaring?
I was rocking some tail. But he looked like he was older than me, so who cares? It's like a joke.
Pow, pow, pow.
let me cut in if I don't mind, if you don't mind. So I want and Kevin, if you don't mind me asking, brother, how old are you?
How old am I?
Yes.
I just turned 38.
All right. This is the reason why that's important. Shout out to you.
Hold on. You got to answer the question. You on the panel too.
I am going to answer. I was going to go into that. I'm about to say, brother, I'm 47. Well, I'm 46 years old, right? And the thing that you just said earlier. So the reason why I started that whole question was this. Notice all the women's answers and notice his answer. And I can't even say my answer was similar when I was his age because I got married at, what was I? I think it was 40. I think it was 40. So I got married at 40. And even with the what I'm about to say right now, he already had that wisdom, even though it didn't work out in the way that he wanted it to. Most people marry for the feeling, love, or he's cute, or she's cute, I love it, or the sex, all that emotional shit. A relationship in no part of a marriage does it say love. Nowhere at all. Marriage is a contract. And if you're smart, it's a business contract. So no two adult people should never get married for the state of being in love. You get married because, again, you want to raise a family. You want your child to see what a family looks like, a family structure. You get married because you want to start a business together. Because why? What happens when that quote unquote marriage unfortunately breaks up? Because statistics say that people get bored with a motherfucker, and that's what usually happens. So whether it's your fault, her fault, that fault, this fault, I'm not trying to be that guy, but we see what happens. But I say that to say this. If you had a business or you had a child, but you had the child saying, okay, we're not getting married because we are in love. We're in love, but we're getting married because we're going to raise a child. Because if you would have had that conversation before you had the child and went into marriage, I have a strong indication that even if that marriage was to go sideways, just on the strength of the reason, the intentional, original reason why you got married was that child or that business, you would find a way to make it work. Because even in a business, okay, y'all two broke up. If that business was successful and making money, y'all could still be, living it up and say, okay, we got a marriage that wasn't successful, but look at this business. So we have to reshape the way we think about marriage and why we're doing certain things. Again, you let society dictate what happiness is. Like, listen, I can't say nothing bad about my ex, nothing at all, because she's great, but I'm glad the life that I have right now. Now, perhaps who knows in the future, one day I might want to get married again, perhaps. But right now, I'm cool in a gang.
So I tell people all the time, marriage is a business contract.
Yes, sir.
Love is a bonus. Happy is a bonus.
That's what. Well, hold on. Did you say this is a bonus? Shout out to you. I love that.
I'm gonna have to interrupt. I'm gonna interrupt
to...
because I agree with you both, but you're talking to the 38 self over here, not the 19-year-old self where I was.
True.
So you have.
Listen, I told you my mindset didn't change till 24, 25. So
right, but you
at
have
19,
I
was 40 when I figured this shit out. I was 42.
Right. So
yeah.
You gotta look at also the reason why I say it's a business also, and everything else is bonuses. It takes longer to get a freaking divorce than it is to get married.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what he had on deck, but mine was like a few months. So y'all better call his lawyer.
Yo, you wild.
I don't know if they was his cousins, but
no.
But you know what, Mika makes a great point because, and I mean, clearly it's from the woman's perspective. When you're a teenager and when you're in your early 20s, you're not looking at marriage as a business contract. You're looking at marriage as your end goal because that's what you're told. Like, well, that's what I want to be in love. I want to wake up next to somebody who's going to love me every single day and buy me flowers and be, appreciative of the dinner that I cook.
Who reinforce that? Media.
Culture, society.
Exactly.
But we're also talking about not woke version of everybody now. It's young, naive, what you see in the movies, what you see on TV, what you feel like you're supposed to have, what you grew up listening to in fairy tales. That is what we want. So I wanted to make that point because I realized that was a great point that Mika said.
I totally agree. Like I said it earlier when you said the age that you got married, I was like, oh hell no, I could not have got married. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I wasn't mature enough to get married at that age.
But you knew that a lot of times, and I know for me, and I said it, and Kev, you were at my wedding. I said at my wedding, if it was up to me, he and I would have got married the first 3 months. And it's because in my mind, I'm like, dude, like we've run out of time. Like I'm in my 20s. I need to get married now. We got tired of
hearing you talk about that shit. Lord Jesus, when he proposed, I was like, thank you. Lord, thank you. It's a wrap. I don't gotta hear it no more.
But that just goes to say at that moment, we want it now. We want to be loved. We want to, why all your friends are getting married and they look happy and they look, like this is the end goal. Why can't I have that? So we don't give ourselves the capacity to think. And then also, not for nothing, you don't go into marriage thinking I'm going to get divorced. So you don't even think about what that process is going to be. You don't care for it. You're just like, that's not going to be me. This person is my person. So we're going to be married till death do us part. I don't care what struggles we have. We're going to get through it. So you're not even thinking about what's going to happen when this person wakes up one morning or when you wake up one morning and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you on that one. Like, even when I tell people it's a business and you get the bonuses and all that, but I love the bonuses. I'm not ruined. Listen, where I'm at right now in life, I got one more marriage in my life, and that's it. Because I was ready to take it off the table. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was gonna go back to my thought-bottom ways. I was gonna go back to my thought-bottom ways and call it a life. All right, I got my child. I'm cool. But when you
I
find
got
the right
my
person,
son. You don't
find
even
the
just
right
got your
person.
child. You got a son.
Listen,
Name lives on,
brother,
goddammit.
brother, listen right now. This is the life. I have 3 women right now. We all hang out, we chill. These are my women. These are my ladies.
Go back.
All at the same time? Wait a
All at the
second
same
now.
time. But
What?
watch this.
This is another show.
But here's part of the plan of that.
We got reality sister wives over here.